What's up guys, this is Casey bringing you another Blender tutorial. Today we're going to be learning how to make siding and roofs for houses. And I surprisingly had to look up what the plural version of roof is. Apparently it actually is roofs and not roofs, if that makes any sense to anybody. Anyways, it's not going to be like a super realistic house or anything, so I just want to show you the actual siding and the roof. So we're just going to start with our basic cube here. And with our basic cube, I'm just going to kind of like set it up on my grid a little bit so it's a little, I don't know, nicer on the eyes, I guess. So I'm hitting 1 and 5 on my numpad to go to my front and orthographic view. And now I'm going to hit tab to go into my edit mode, and Z to look at my wireframe. Now I'm going to hit the B button for box select, and I'm going to click and drag across these top vertices. So now if you look, it selected my entire top, and that's exactly what we want to do. So I'm going to go back to my front view, and I'm just going to extrude this by hitting the E key, and I'm going to do it on the Z axis, which it's already on there, I guess. And I'm just going to do it by one of these boxes back here. So now we have this kind of two-tiered thing. So we're going to actually make the roof. By doing that, we're going to hit the S to scale, the Y to constrain it to the Y axis, and then we're going to hit 0 and enter. And that makes our roof. Ta-da! But that's not, I mean, that's cool and all, I guess, maybe. But that's really too easy, and I don't know, it's just kind of plain and boring. So what we actually want to do is we're going to make our, what do they call them, shingles. We're going to make a shingles for our roof. It's not something that you have to do, and a lot of people actually like to add shingles onto their house with just materials, which you can do. If you have a better computer than me, then you can probably like subdivide the roof a million times and then add a displacement modifier and displace it to the roof tiles, and it will look really nice. However, I find that using materials is very two-dimensional. It just doesn't have enough, I don't know, bumps. It doesn't have enough depth. That's the word I'm looking for, depth. It does not have enough depth for a roof. So to really make my pictures pop, I like to add shingles. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm not talking about the disease. This is not shingles the disease. Anyways. Whoops. What did I do? Oh, I'm in edit mode, that's why. Go back. Okay, so I'm tabbing out of edit mode. And to make my shingles, I'm just going to go to my layer 2 by hitting the number 2. Doop, like that. And I'm going to add a plane. So Shift A, mesh plane. And now we just need to do a little bit of finagling to make it look like a single shingle. That's fun to say, single shingle. So I'm going to loop cut it, and I'm going to do it twice, like this. And I'm going to scale it on the x-axis by hitting SX. And I'm just going to scale it out somewhere right about in here, because now I just want to bring these corners in. Whoops, on the y-axis by hitting G and Y. And I'm just going to bring it in to kind of round it off a little bit. Something like that. Now if you want to do a different design for yours, you're more than welcome to. This is just a quick little design that I like to do, so if you want to make yours a little more intricate, go ahead. So now I'm just going to take these edges here, go to my front view again, and I'm going to extrude them down on the Z-axis. Maybe about a, I'll go one little box length like that. And I'm going to extrude them again. And right click will put them back into place. So I've extruded. I mean, if you want to, if I hit the G key and grab, you'll see that there's an extra piece there, but it's right on top of the other piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scale it on the x-axis, and I'm going to do, like, again, it'll be about a box. So right about there. Whoop, a little bit. There we go. right about there. So this is the piece that I have. We're not quite done yet. We actually need to split this in half. Whoops. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to loop cut it again right down the center, like that. And I'm going to take the right side. So I'm going to take this whole bit right here and Shift D to duplicate it. And I'm going to place it right about here. I want it to line up as close as I can to these vertices. So let me hit my Z key, go to my wireframe. I'll pull it in on the X right about there. Make sure, let's get a little bit closer. Let's see. Yeah, definitely needs to keep coming. Keep coming. Grab it on the X right there. Let's see how close we are on this side. Oh, there we are. Well, it looks pretty darn close. Just bring it in a little bit more, right about there. Okay, that should be good enough. So, now that I have that piece, obviously I need to get the rest of this and do it on the other side. Oops. So I'm going to hit this, my Z key for my wireframe, hit B for box select. I'm just going to select all of this, and I don't want this one in the background here, so I'm just going to pop this, whoops, just going to pop off this here, grab that, and I'm holding Shift with my box select, and that's unselecting. And I don't know why these are selected, so let's, oh, wait. Oh no, I did this backwards. Hold on. Okay, I don't want these vertices. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we need to turn on this little button down here. It looks like two little mouse cursors pointing at each other, or two arrows pointing at each other. It's going to merge the vertices when they're right on top of each other, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to click that, and I want to Shift D again, and I want to pull it down right over top of this one. And you can see that it did not join together. That means they're not right on top of each other yet. So let's try and get these on top of each other. So let's go a little bit on the X right there, a little bit on the Y. There it goes. So now you can see the orange kind of like fades into this now. That means that we are joined. Let's just double check this one. And there's the orange. We are joined completely. So now that we are joined, we actually need to move this. So let's take these vertices, grab those, grab that. Now we need to go to our side view, and we're going to grab it on the Z-axis like this, and we actually want to rotate it a little bit because shingles are kind of lopsided. We're going to do it with this top one too. Let's try and unselect that. Whoop, what did I do? Like that. We'll rotate that a bit, bring that up. Something right about there should be pretty good. Yeah, all right, that should do it. So you can see that it's kind of hard to see this top one when you're looking straight at it, unless you're using your wireframe mode. But that's okay. When it renders, you will actually see it quite well. So you really don't have to worry about it. However, I think that this space is too much. Ah, crap. Well, just gonna deal with it. Okay, so this is our shingles. This is going to be our first row and our second row. And you'll hopefully see how this all comes together. So I'm just going to move this to my first layer again by making sure it is selected. And then I'm going to hit M1. That'll take it back to the first layer, right like that. So now I just need to position it onto my roof. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that on the z-axis, and I'm going to start to scale it down. Let's go up to the top view, put it all the way up here in the corner, right about there. We need to actually start to rotate it. A little bit more, something like this maybe, and then we need to scale that way, way, way down. Whoa. Whoa, it's making me disappear. So I'm going to actually hang it off the edge just a little bit, because I guess that's kind of how shingles do. So right about there. Right about there. That should be good. Yeah, see? Okay, so now we're just going to add an array modifier. Boom, right like that. Now you can see that it actually, it looks fairly good so far. So let's just start increasing the count until we hit the other edge. Now, you can see that it is just before that edge right here, and this one is hanging off the edge. Now, we could fix it by doing this. We could just drag it onto the x-axis just a little bit. If you look, it's hanging over ever so slightly on both sides. You know what? That's actually pretty good. If yours did not turn out that way, the easiest way to fix it is to actually just scale it. So let's say that we were way over on the side. We would come up here. It actually does need scaled, so I am going to do that, but I'm going to scale it way down, something like that. Pull it up a little bit, make sure it's back onto the roof like this. Right about there. Make sure it's right at the, almost at the edge. Really overlap it just a bit like this. Like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to increase my count again. Okay, so now we're way off on this side. So now we actually have to do some scaling. So let's scale down. And let's just scale it down until we actually make it about where we want it to be, which is right about there. So now that we have that one, we need to make sure we click on this merge, or else you start getting weird artifacts. That just means that the two, what do you call it, the two vertices on the things that are connected are merging together, and that's what we want. We don't want it to be completely offset, if that makes any sense, because I just realized that I did not explain that hardly at all very well. Anyways, now we need to add another array modifier. And this one's going to be just a little bit more complicated. So it automatically offsets it by 1 on the x-axis. So you can see this is our x-axis offset, this is our y-axis offset, and this is our z-axis offset. So we don't want any x-axis this time, so we're going to go ahead and turn that off. And instead we want y and z-axis. So let's start increasing, no, we need to decrease our y-axis. And we're going to decrease it, decrease it, decrease it, and we'll increase it, increase it. Now we need to go to our side, and you can see that it's kind of sitting like up on top. And we don't want it to sit on top, so we're going to actually mess with our z-axis now. So now let's start decreasing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 gets it pretty close. That might be right, well, it's going into the roof. We might need to go back up one. There we go. There we go. That fixed it. So I am at a -9, or a -0.9, excuse me, on the y-axis, and a -0.8 on the z-axis. Do not worry if your numbers do not match mine, because your scaling might be a little bit different than mine. So just make it look good. It doesn't have to be exact, it doesn't have to be perfect. So now we're just going to start increasing that count. Boom, 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 boom. And you can see that we're running into problems. Lots and lots of problems. Oh. Well, that sort of fixed it. Well, let me leave the problem there and then I'll come back to it. Let me go one more. And that's probably about right, actually. So if it actually does fall off this edge like this at the very end, that's usually okay, because actually most houses are kind of like that. They usually have this little, the shingles come down a little further, and there's usually like a little lip that kind of comes up, like a trim, I guess is what you would call it. There's like a trim piece that kind of comes out to meet that. That's actually what you're looking for. However, if that is not exactly what you want, just do your scaling again. Go back up to the very, very top one, and this time you're just basically going to scale it on like the z-axis, and that'll get you scaling on the right direction so you can get it exactly the length that you want. So, obviously, we are going through the roof. There are a couple ways we can fix this. We can actually just grab, we can actually just grab it and pull it a little bit further away from the roof, like this. And that should fix it. Almost. It actually probably needs to be, what do you call it? It needs to be rotated a little bit is what it probably is. Like this. Put it right up there like that. Maybe rotate just a bit. That should have solved it. And it did. Yay! So it just rotating it a little bit is what solved that roof from actually clipping through our shingles. So that's it. That's basically our roof. You can just Shift D and duplicate it and pop it right onto the back side. I'm not going to do that because it'll make our tutorial a little bit longer than I want it to go. Anyways, now the materials for a roof. Shingles are not all the same color. You can't just make them all like a black color and expect it to look cool. There's usually like a dark gray and a light gray and a medium gray, or a light tan, dark tan, medium tan. There's usually like 3 or 4 colors to shingles. I would implore you to just go to Google and look up pictures of shingles and see. I mean, there's a whole mess of different designs for them. There's a whole mess of colors for them. Just find one that you like and go with it. But in order to actually make these different colors, you're going to have to apply these arrays. So I'm going to do that for the sake of this tutorial. So I'm just going to apply these. The top one's going to go first. I'm going to apply and apply. So now that I've applied both of these, if I go into edit mode, you can see all of them are there. So now comes the really difficult part. I'm clicking on this little cube down here at the bottom. That's going to be our face select mode. And basically, you're going to have to select every single face and give it its own material. Let me show you what I mean. You're going to have to go in here, and usually what I'll do is usually like these grooves here. I'll usually make these actually like a dark gray or a black color because I want it to really give depth to what I'm doing. So I will usually just go through here and click all of these. And I'm not going to do this whole thing because that would take forever, but you'd go through, you'd do that, and then you could click on new, and automatically when you add a new material, it is assigned to the entire object. So I guess I wouldn't really have to select all of these to assign it to. Let me just call this like dark gray or black. I'll call it black. Black. So that means everything is going to be this black material right off the bat. So I don't even have to mess with the black. I would basically just have to select the faces that I want, and it's going to have to be random. And that really is where the hard part comes in with doing shingles. There's not really an easy way to do it. There is a little button down here called Select Random. But unfortunately, it's not going to select it the way that you want it. It's not going to select every single tile separately. Now, there is another little cheat kind of way that you could probably do this. This is actually, I didn't even think about this until I just started my tutorial. Hopefully this works. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Let's hit the P key. And let's go by loose parts. Well, it didn't work for the bottom part, but let's see how the rest of them work. Oh, it did it line by line. Well, that's actually not helpful at all, I don't think, but let's try it one more time. Let's select this top row, go to the P key, and go by the loose parts, and nothing. Okay, so basically, the reason that it's not doing all of these together is because these are actually joined together. So, I mean, if I click on, let's see, if I click on this face here and I try to drag it around, you can see that it's dragging this one next to it, the shingle next to it. That's why the by loose part selection modifier really isn't going to work. I guess if you wanted to, before you apply your modifier, you could go ahead and make them two separate objects, and it would save you a lot of time. You could do exactly what I just did. You could go in, select it all, hit the P key, and go by loose parts, and it will basically make every single one of these shingles into its own object. So then you could just go through and apply, click on the object and apply a different material to every one, which would be interesting. I didn't even think about that until now. You guys are learning right along with me. However, this still takes a decent amount of time. So let me see if I can, well, let me reverse enough. Whoop. There we go. Unfortunately, the adding materials to shingles can just be, it's a lot of hard work. If you were expecting it to have a trick or a cheat, it just doesn't. A lot of these things, they take time. That's why professional artists, blender artists, things like that, they take weeks, months, years to complete really good projects, because there's just stuff like this where you have to go through and just select different faces for every one and assign a brand new material for it. So that's enough about shingles. Let's move on to siding. So I've gotten this house. It's got shingles on it on one side. You guys might have it on both sides. I don't know. Depends on how long you guys are following. Anyways, so this is our house. In order to make siding for this, again, some people use material. Some people will use a displacement modifier, again, to make the siding to a house. There's a couple problems that I found with this, and that's, again, it feels very two-dimensional. It feels kind of flat and kind of boring. Another problem is there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of people with pictures of siding out there, like textures of siding. I don't know why. I mean, I think like 90% of houses, at least in the U.S., is like vinyl siding now. You'd think more people would want it for houses, but anyways, we're gonna make it by hand. We're gonna make it the hard way. So, if I click on my house right here, we're gonna go ahead and hit it's our slash key. Is it the forward slash? I think it's forward slash on our numpad, and that hides our roof and anything else that we have in our picture. Just lets us work with our house. Just the outside of our house. So if we tab in edit mode, basically what you want to do is loop cut it a lot of times to make your siding. The problem with this right now is that we've already created our house, and our siding is not going to be spaced right, because we're going to have different size spacing here than we will up here, because I mean, it's going to give us different sizes for both of them, obviously, because it's not the same size on either one of them. So the easiest way to do this is to actually come down here. There's this little magnet looking icon down here. We're going to click that, and right next to it should be a little grid with a dot on it. We're going to click that, and it says increment is what it's on. We don't want increment, we want vertex, so we're changing it to vertex. And now we're just going to click on the sides here, right like this. Go to our side view, and we're going to hit the E key to extract on the Z axis and hover over the very tip of your house. And that should snap automatically to the exact height of your house. So now if we click on that, you can see it is the exact height of our house. Now the normals are a little messed up, so I'm just going to fix that real quick. I'm going to go to my face select and select these faces, go to mesh, normals, and recalculate. And now they're back to normal. Yay! Okay, so now basically we're just going to get rid of this roof here. Gonna go ahead and delete those faces by hitting X faces. We've got this one on top here for some reason. If it'll let me select it. There we go. Faces, select. We need these inner triangles. That one, and face. And now we need to actually get rid of these edges too. We want this to be a complete box without any interruptions. So let's go to our edge select down here at the bottom and click that. Let's click one edge at a time and hit X, dissolve edge. And it'll just get rid of that edge and make this whole thing one big face, which is exactly what we need. So if you've never used the dissolve feature before, now's a good time to learn, because it can be extremely useful, especially when you're trying to lower the poly count of any of your objects. So there we have it. We have turned our house into just this big box, which is exactly what we want. So now we're ready to actually loop cut it. Before we loop cut, before we do anything else, before we do anything else, down here, this little button here that has the two arrows pointing at each other that let us merge our vertices, turn it off. Make sure that it looks white and it is not darkened, because if you leave it on and you start this process, it will mess everything up and you will have to start from the beginning. And that's not fun. You don't want to lose like 20 minutes of work. It's never fun. Never fun. Okay, so now let's go over here to our loop cut and slide. And we're just going to start using our mouse wheel to increase that number. And I find that 30 is usually a pretty good number, unless you have like a really huge tall building or something that you're making siding for, but 30 usually tends to be pretty good. So unfortunately now comes kind of a boring part. We already have our little snap button down here, that's our magnet. We have that selected. Let's go ahead and unselect that for now. And we need to go to our face select mode. And we're going to just select the very bottom face on one side. Do not select any more faces. Select one face. Not the whole face all the way around, not all the way up, just the one little face down here at the bottom. And we're just going to extrude it a little bit on the y-axis, in my case. Just a little bit like that. Now the reason we don't select any other faces is because if you extrude with any other faces selected, it's going to join those two faces. This little face right here, this little teeny tiny one, let me highlight it. This little teeny tiny one, if I had selected this and extruded it with this one, that little tiny face wouldn't be there. It would be joined with these two. We don't want that. We need it to be separate. So we're going to have to do every single one of these separately. And it's a pain. So let's go down here to our little magnet button and select it again. Make sure we're already on vertex mode. And we are. So now we select our next face above that one. And we're going to extrude. And it's already snapping to the y-axis, which is awesome. And we're just going to hover over that vertex right there and select it. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way up. Now it seems like hard work, and it is. It can take you a lot of extra time, but like I said, if you want your pictures to look best, this is how you got to do it. Good pictures take a long time to do. Especially, I mean, if you're not making low poly stuff, like for video games, if you're making art, pictures, high quality animations, things like that, you're going to want lots of poly count. You're going to want lots of verts and lots of detail. And this is how you get those, by doing this. Okay, so we have this entire side. Each one separately extruded. We have their own separate little faces. Now there's something that we have to do. Let's go down here to our little edge select. Let's select this second edge from the top. And I'm going to hit my G key and just start to drag it around and see what it looks like. Okay, so I have grabbed, this is kind of hard to explain. There are two edges in which you can grab. When I select this edge, we are trying to figure out, did we grab this edge or did we grab that edge? So when I pull it in, you can see we grab the top edge. We grab this one, not this one. So that means we're working entirely upside down. which has actually happened to me on more than one occasion. So now we're just going to not select this top one, but select every other edge down this side. So let's go ahead and do that. Do 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 like that, and include this bottom one because it's going to be important later, trust me. Okay, so now we're going to grab on the y-axis right there, snap it to that vertex, boom, just like that. We have our upside down siding. Yay! So that was on the front side, right? Yes. Okay, so I don't want to waste too much time in this tutorial. I'm going to do this side, and then I'm going to be done with the siding. I'm not going to do the whole building. That's up to you guys. I show you the methods. You guys just use it how you want to use it. Okay, so turn off the magnet again, and go to our face select mode. Grab this face here. We're just going to extrude it, and we're going to just try and match the length of this. Now, if you want to be super precise about it, you could always go into your options window here, and you can go to, let's see, edge info, length. So now if we go to our edge mode and select this edge right there, it'll tell you it is 1.539 centimeters. So if we want to, we could always just extrude it to 1.539 centimeters. I don't do that. Whatever, who cares, right? Unless you're showing this house super up close, ain't nobody gonna notice. So I just eyeball it, pull it out, something like right about there. Looks good. So now we just start extruding these. Whoops. Make sure our little magnet is turned on. Extrude, boom, extrude, boom, extrude, boom, extrude, boom. Now you might have to snap these to an axis when you're extruding them. This is actually, out of the 4 times that I have practiced this tutorial, this is the first time that it has automatically snapped to the right vertex for me. I don't know why, but if you have to snap it to the right vertex, like this one, you'd snap it to the X vertex, so you're only pulling it on the X axis. And this one, you would snap to the y-axis, so you're only pulling it on the y. It's important, because when you're snapping to vertex, it's going to look super, super weird if you don't snap it to an axis. And here we go. Going up, going up, going up. Almost there. Almost to the top. Almost there. And one more. Boom. Okay. So now we're just going to do the same thing. Select our edges. Right down the side. Do 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 and do. Okay. Up. Let's go down to this one, and we will grab on the X, pull it in right there. Right there. There. Okay. So obviously the siding is upside down. Obviously not what we want. So we're just going to flip it. Make sure that your point of origin needs to be in the very center. So let's tab in edit mode. Hit our A key to select everything. Once you select everything, mesh, snap, cursor to selected, and it will snap right to the middle. Oh yeah, it's not going to snap to the middle. Well. It'll snap to the middle if you do the whole, if you do siding for the whole thing. I have done siding for 2 sides. That's why it is not snapping to the middle. Boy, that's going to be a problem. That is going to be an issue. Let's see. I can fix it. Hold on. Wait a minute. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. Okay. Just going to grab those, put a face across it. How about that? So now, I select, that face. That face. Mesh, snap, cursor to select. There we go. There we go. Now we're in the middle. Okay. So now I'm tabbing out of edit mode, and I'm going to do the move I like to call the claw. This is where I'm going to hit Control, Alt, Shift, and C all at the same time, and it makes my hand do a weird claw. That's why I call it the claw, and I'm just, whoop, it went away. I'm just going to select Origin to 3D Cursor. So now the origin of my object is right smack in the center, right where I want it to be, and we're just going to rotate it all the way around. So R, 180 degrees, just like that. And now my siding is right side up. Yay! Now because I've only done 2 sides, I want these to be facing the other direction, so I'm just going to go like rotate Z, what's that, 90? No. Rotate Z 180. Is that it? I can't tell if that's it. Nope. I'm one side off. Rotate Z 90. There we go. Aha. Okay. So now I've got my siding on the sides that I want. That's not something you guys should have to do. You should have your whole thing there. Okay, so now I'm going to delete that face I made. And we are ready. So now let's hit our little slash key on our numpad again. Boom. We are back in business. So I'm going to go to my side view here. I'm going to tab into my edit mode. And unfortunately, we can't do the fun little instantaneous like snap to our 0 on the y-axis to make a slanted roof. We're going to have to do this by hand, which can be a little bit painful. We're just going to select a row of vertices at a time. And, whoops, scale it in on the y-axis. I'm just going to... Okay, that's scaling really freaking weird. Hold on. Scale it on the y. And it's scaling all the way to the side because I have siding on this side and not on those sides. I should have just done siding on this whole stupid thing. I didn't realize it was going to be this much of a pain to work with. Let's see, maybe I can do it if I do individual origins. On the Y. Nope. Maybe 3D cursor scale on the Y. Aha, that'll save it. So you guys shouldn't have to mess with that. If you've done siding on the whole thing, it should scale perfectly fine. Mine is just doing it because I put siding on 2 sides and not the other 2 sides. So I'm just going to scale it on the y-axis. And put it right. Actually, I guess I could just scale it to 0. At least for the top one. So now I'm basically just going to follow the slant of my roof. Scale it in like that. And grab it here. I'm going to scale that in like this. Yep. Right there. Scale this one in like that. And this one in like this. And the next one, scale it on the Y like that. And next, scale on the Y like this. Too much. Like that. And scale this one on the Y like this. And scale this one on the Y like that. And this one on the Y like that. Scale this one like that. Maybe a little bit more. Like that. That'll do her. Okay, so obviously what we have here is that we have this space in between our shingles and our roof. You can fix it, but you really don't have to. Don't make more work for yourself than you need to. Like I said before, the shingles kind of hang off the edge of your roof of the house, and it's kind of covered up by the trim. There's what they call trim. It's like a wooden board that just kind of, it's curved a little bit. It's, I don't know, kind of fancy, but it goes from your house to your roof. Kind of, I don't know how to describe this anymore. I hope you know what I'm talking about. It's trim that goes all the way around your house. It'll also go all the way around your roof. So usually when you're making a house, you will have trim that goes around your shingles and around your house, and it pretty much just serves a good purpose in this case, to just hide these weird kind of edges like that, to hide the siding underneath. But yeah, for now, that's pretty much all we're going to do. You can see that we have a couple of issues still. You can see that the roof is actually clipping through some of our tiles here, and that's because actually of our scaling of our house. I'm just having all kinds of trouble talking today. I'm sorry, guys. Basically, we would just want to come back in here and just grab what we think is wrong. We just rescale it back in a little bit, and you can see that my scaling back in fixed it along this bottom path. So that's basically what you do. You just go through and make sure that none of it is actually clipping through your shingles. There's one last little tidbit thing that I should probably show you. The very tip of your roof right here, sometimes around the outer edges too, but maybe not quite so much. There's usually like an extra row of shingles that go from one side of the roof to the other side. So that's pretty simple and easy to do. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'm just going to select this very tip top vertex here. Mesh, snap, cursor to selected, tab out of my edit mode, Shift A, plane, and then we're just going to and scale it down. And we want to make it as close to the size of our what do you call it, our shingles as we can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just want it to be fairly close. Something maybe ish. Let's see. Let's go like this. You know what? That's good. That works. So now I'm just going to tab into edit mode. Actually, let me bring it up a little bit. Like that. So now if I tab into edit mode, and I loop cut, and I loop cut it once, and I grab the sides here like this, and I go to my side view, grab on the Z, and I'm just going to pull it down, maybe scale it on the Y a little bit, pull it in, grab it on the Z a little bit more, scale it on the Y a little bit more, something like that. That'll do. So you could always make it a little more complex if you wanted to, like give it maybe a bunch more loop cuts and make it a little more rounded. Obviously, I'm going super fast. I hate to do that to you guys, but it is a tutorial video, and people barely even stick around when they're like 5 minutes long, let alone when they're like 5 hours long. So I'm trying to do these things quick. Anyways, we're going to do pretty much the same thing as we did last time. So we're going to add modifier array and tab into edit mode again. Let's select all the vertices, and we're just going to want to rotate it just a little bit. Just a little bit. Like that. And then we're going to raise it back up again on the Z-axis like that. And let's give it just a little bit less of an offset so that they're kind of on top of each other like that. And then we can just right across the tippy top of the house. And obviously we're hanging off the edge, so again, we can always just scale it. This time we're just going to scale it on the x-axis. Oh, wow. I thought I barely scaled that thing. Scale it out right about there. And just like that. Just like that. We have a roof and some siding. So let's pull that out just a bit. Oh, I messed everything up. Let's not do that. Maybe pull this down. How about that? There we go. Okay. Just like that. Yay. Woo. So let's get it kind of at the side angle just a little bit like that. And I'll pull this up a little bit. Obviously you're going to see the weirdness between the shingles and the roof that would be hidden by the trim. We're not doing the trim, remember, just keep that in mind. Anyways, now let me go ahead and make this into a sun lamp. That, just gonna wing that around. Whoop, I got this going around my 3D cursor. Wing that around, something like that. We don't want it directly on the house. Oop. So let's grab it, pull it down, something like that. Use nodes. We'll do like 2. Go back here. You know what? Let's pull this out. Nope. Pull this out this way a little bit so you can get a bigger picture of it. That and that. Okay. And I'm just going to turn my samples up. Let's do like 100 samples. It should be quick because I don't have any materials. Let's render. Woo! And it's done. Yay! Okay, so hopefully, now I didn't render this at a huge picture. Hopefully you guys can see the dimension that it sort of adds to your houses. The siding, obviously, very, very nice. Now if you wanted to, there's usually a cap on the edges of your house. It's basically the same deal that you did with this, only easier. You don't even need an array. Just do the plane again, pop it across the side, stretch it down, and that'll be your cap. That's super easy. Now if you look at the shingles, they could use a little bit of work. They stick out a little bit. If you look at the edge, they do have a little depth to it, which is very nice, especially this top part. The top part is very nice. I like that. And this side here, it's got sort of some detail. It's nice, but it could have just a little bit more. Now you could obviously do this in a couple different ways. You could mess with your actual, what do you call it? Your actual like edit mode. You could go into your edit mode and mess with your vertices, or you could go into your. I suddenly lost the ability to talk. I'm sorry, guys. What's it called? You could go into your array modifier. Man. That took every bit of brain power I had. So you could go into your array modifier. So before you apply your array modifier, I highly recommend that you kind of maybe give it a quick render, or that you look through your rendered view mode just to kind of see what it looks like. So you can kind of adjust it from there, because we could probably, these are layered very tightly. We probably could have unlayered them just a little bit more, and it would have given a lot more depth to our actual roof tiles, our shingles. I'm just going to end this video before I'm shutting down here. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Yeah, this is fairly easy, fairly simple. It is a little time consuming, which kind of stinks, but like I said, if you're looking for ultimate realism, that's basically how you would do it. Do stuff like this. It's just things that you can't really achieve with materials or displacement. You can, maybe if you're like really good at it, maybe you could, I don't know, but this is how I usually do it because it just seems to turn out nicer. I guess one little thing that I should mention before I go too far is that usually you'll want to do this stuff kind of last on your houses, just because it's more important to get the shapes down and like the windows and doors and things on there before you kind of mess with the little details. So you will have to mess with the siding more. Let me go and show you a bit. Oops. So if I tab into edit mode, let's just say I have a window. I guess I could just place one in here. You just pop like that. You grab like that. Mesh, snap, cursor to selected. Shift A, mesh, window. Wow, that's a huge window. Rotate it. Shrink it down. So obviously you can see it is being hidden by the siding. It's actually up against the house where it should be, but it's being hidden by the siding, which is not good, obviously. Now you could pull the window way out from your house and just hide it that way. You could do it that if you wanted to. It's an easy way. However, you can see from this view that it is now popping off. We don't want that. We don't want that. It's horrible. It is. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, we're just going to clip this out. And let's go loop cut. And I'm going to loop cut it twice. Scale it on the Y axis. I just want to touch the edges of the window like that. And let's see, will it let me loop cut sideways? Why, yes it does. Thank you for asking. There's that one, and loop cut. Quit it! Go where I want you to go. Okay, let me go to the side. Here, let me try this. Like that. There we go. Aha! Gotcha. Dirty rat. Okay, so now I'm basically just going to select my faces, which can be a little difficult, obviously. So this is one of them. That's got to go. This here, that's got to go. That's got to go. This has got to go. Okay, so now if I hit my little slash key, my little nifty little slash key, and I'm just going to select all these weird little faces on the inside from our siding. Maybe. There we go. Face, 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 and slash key. And just like that, now we have our window inset, and we have basically exactly where we want it to be. Just pull it out a little bit. There we go. So that's how you would basically just cut out shapes for like doors or windows or any little intricate designs that you need to fit it into your siding. And that's it. That's where I'm going to end the tutorial because I'm losing my stinking mind today, apparently. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something. Join me next